I always wanted to be a Marine. I'd always wanted to be a Marine. My mother cried, my father cried because I was joining the Marine Corps. They said, "You're gonna die, you're gonna die." I said, "No, not me, not me." I was on my birthday, and I arrived in Hagaruri, Korea, which is on the mountaintop next to the reservoir. And the mountaintop was probably 10 miles or so from Kotori. And it was deep snow, minus 25 degrees. We went up the side of this hill, standing up the hill, and the next thing you know, my commanding officer turned to me and said, "I want you to go down and take charge of this hill." And I said, "Okay, sir, I'll do that."
Reginald Myers arrived at the Chosin Reservoir near Hagaruri in late November of 1950. He had already earned 2 Bronze Stars since beginning his tour in Korea just 4 months earlier, but the desperate battle that would bring him the Medal of Honor was still to come. East Hill, located at the edge of the Chosin Reservoir, was a key enemy position that had to be secured in order for the Americans to take the crucial reservoir locale. Days of heavy fighting had depleted the American forces dramatically. They were outnumbered by more than 15 to 1. Myers was left with a makeshift group of 250 Army and Marine Corps troops, many of whom were non-combatants.
So we got along and just got everybody that I could, all the cooks and the bakers and candlestick makers, and all these Marines and Army people went up on the top of the hill. And you kicked them, pulled your pistol out, and you fired in the air, and did everything you could to get them to move. And they moved, and there was nobody down the bottom of the hill.
As temperatures dropped to 20 below zero, and a steady snow began to fall, Myers and his ragtag unit moved forward toward the Chinese, who greeted them with a vicious rain of artillery and machine gun fire.
We arrived at the top of the hill, and I laid down there, and next thing you know, like that, and all the guns were firing, and I called in the air strikes, and I called in the artillery strikes. They all bombed, and they blasted their artillery. There was a machine gun that was sitting on the side of the hill, and it sort of grazed over the top of us. And the next thing you know, my radio operator said, "Oh, I've been hit." And with that, he was evacuated. We were down to about 70 Marines, and all the Army people was gone. Carried down the stretchers. That took 5 people, 4 people and 1 man on the stretcher, and they didn't come back up. So we just kept losing people all the time. We ended up with about 50 Marines up there. Felt like I was going to lose immediately, really, because too many people, 4,000 people at the time, too many odds against me.
After a grueling day-long battle, Myers fell back to a defensive position while Marine Captain Carl Sitter brought up replacement troops to complete the objective. Myers' leadership of soldiers who had never fought together resulted in 600 enemy dead and 500 wounded, and earned him and Captain Sitter the Medal of Honor.
I was in Quantico. All of a sudden they said I was going to receive it. And I said, "You got to be kidding. Me, little old me." President Truman gave it to me at the White House, October of 1951. He was one of the greatest guy. I'd vote for him anytime. Everybody says the same thing. And the medal means to me that you have to rely on everybody else to do all the things that they understand that they've got to do. The people who were with me deserved all the medals that I could give them. Freedom is not free. Freedom is something that you have to earn.